And welcome back to Game Over Cancer 2025. We are now going to watch a run of Rockman in Forte presented to us by One More Time. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is One More Time. I am a Mega Man speedrunner, primarily of Rockman and Forte, amongst other games. And, of course, that's what we're going to be playing today. Kind of known as Mega Man 8.5 in many ways because it's kind of an in-between game between 7 and 8. One of the more difficult games out there. I'll cut the intro short there because I know we're running a little bit behind, and we'll go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So, to begin with, we start out with an intro stage at the Robot Museum, and right away we're already going to be starting on our first trick of the game. We are going to be doing the one and only RNG manipulation here. So, there's a couple of enemy patterns that we're going to be trying to avoid. I've just screwed that up, so unfortunately, the manip is dead. Well, that's alright. What I was trying to do was set up the manip in such a way that certain patterns of drills and certain patterns of that an enemy is going to do right at the end of the stage were going to be fixed. But because I took damage on that first enemy, that unfortunately throws everything off. So, bit of an auspicious start, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get through this right away. The Robot Museum itself is, of course, an interesting little callback to basically the entire Mega Man series. Everything from references to Mega Man 1 to a Mega Man 6 reference right here. It's kind of a fun little stage, but also is a little bit on the difficult side. We're actually already kind of at low health. This is very interesting. Well, I am going to just have to concentrate a little bit. We're going to have to just take this a little bit slower than expected. There we go.
If you want me to talk while you concentrate, we did get a donation.
Sure, hit us with a donation.
Yeah, so we've got one that's coming already for you from Kiwi Bro. They've given us $5 US, and they're sending you some positive vibes saying you got this.
Thanks, Kiwi Bro.
And I'd like to remind Kiwi and anyone watching who gives a donation, if you'd like that to go towards any of our incentives, we still have the Mega Man 4 versus 5 bid war, the Meiju King of Demons category bid war, and of course, Super Metroid Save the Animals versus Kill the Animals. So let us know in chat what you'd like that to go towards.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just took a death right there. Normally, I go in there with a lot more health, but thankfully, that's not going to be a huge time loss. We don't have to go through that cutscene again. We just get right back into fight. And Green Devil here is busted down pretty quickly by Mega Man. If you're playing as Forte, he actually has essentially double the amount of health. And is actually vulnerable for a lot less period of time. So, thankfully, pretty darn quick. And we're done with our first stage. So, we're going to move on to Cold Man here. Cold Man is the first boss you're supposed to fight, normally in weakness order, but we also want to fight him first in the speedrun for a very important reason. His weapon, the Ice Wall, is, honestly, in terms of speedrunning, might be one of the most OP Mega Man weapons to ever be created. And I'll hopefully be able to show that off very well here in the upcoming stages. In the meantime, this is probably going to be the most normal Mega Man run Mega Man stage you're going to see. Because we don't have a whole lot of the tools to do some particularly crazy stuff. It's just going to be hopefully some clean play coming up through here. We're jumping through these ice platforms and whatnot as we come up to our first mini boss, which is going to be a guy I affectionately call Frosty. So Frosty here is a weakness. His weak point is just on the top of his head. Every other part of him is invulnerable, and so the quickest way to actually do these rhythmic jumping up and down shots, just do single lemons on him in order to buster him down pretty effectively. He can be kind of a pain if you let him jump around, but thankfully we got him in one cycle. So this room we're going to just strategically take some damage in order to get past those cannons as quickly as possible. Get a 1-up to make up for the one that we just lost on the intro stage. And get to the final room of the stage, where we're going to be using these ice blocks strategically to jump past that gap that Mega Man cannot normally jump past himself, as we go into our first boss, Cold Man. So Cold Man is an interesting boss in the sense that he uses the Ice Wall in order to block Mega Man's shots and also attack with. Unfortunately for Cold Man, Mega Man's Mega Buster actually extends past the Ice Wall. So because of that, you can actually just shoot past the Ice Wall. It actually does not absorb Mega Man's shots at all if you're right up close to him. Kind of an unfortunate oversight on his part, but it makes that fight very, very easy. And with that, we have our first boss done, and we get the Ice Wall. So as I mentioned, the Ice Wall is quite broken, and we're going to be seeing why it is just in the very next stage. What it does is it lays a solid object in front of Mega Man, a solid object that he can interact with by either pushing to slide across the floor and destroy enemies, or jump on top of to act as an extra platform. If that was it, it wouldn't be anything too special. But the fact is that when you lay an Ice Wall in mid-air, it actually remains in mid-air for about a split second, which allows you to jump on top of it, and actually essentially give Mega Man a double jump in mid-air. Now, there's also going to be quite a few other things that we could do with it, but I'll just tackle those when we get to it. But now we're moving on to our second boss, Burner Man. Burner Man's stage is arguably one of the toughest stages in the game, mostly because of a bunch of Ice Wall tricks that we're going to be doing here. Ice Wall, however, is going to allow us to get through this stage very, very quickly. There's a bunch of fake floors that are going to be throughout this stage that normally we're going to have to like go back and forth to avoid. Ice Wall, though, by jumping off of it, allows us to use those in order to just skip through this section very, very quickly. So, that's a room that normally takes quite a bit and is kind of frustrating to do, honestly. But using Ice Wall, we can make it pretty trivial. So, with that, we are going to move on to the Tiki room here. These spears come out of the walls at set intervals. It is completely set. If you have it memorized, you can get through it without any issues. So, coming up to the final room here. Oh, there's going to be enemies are going to be flying along this top of the screen, dropping bombs that are going to set the entire stage on fire. What we're going to be trying to do is outspeed them. Not only because if they drop them, it's going to be slow, but if they drop them, it is likely going to kill Mega Man. They do essentially like 3/4 of Mega Man's health. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. Thankfully, you didn't see any of those, and now we're going to move on to Burner Man. So Burner Man's weakness is the Ice Wall, but the weakness, how it works on him, is rather peculiar. You're supposed to set it on him, and then slide him into these spikes. Unfortunately, the game doesn't want you to do that consecutively, like I did right there. If you try to do that normally, the Ice Wall will actually instantly break. So what you need to do is you have to actually put a damage source on him, but in between those, in order to stick an Ice Wall on him again. Turns out, if you just shoot him with a lemon, when he becomes vulnerable again while he's sliding towards spikes, you can just get him into that damage loop and defeat him very easily. If you don't, he starts moving back and forth. He's completely invincible to pretty much everything when he does that, and he will most likely kill you. This boss absolutely sucks to play casually, but in the speedrun, he is completely trivial. So we are now moving on to Pirate Man. Pirate Man, we're going to see another reason why the Ice Wall is absolutely broken. But before that, we got the Wave Burner from Burner Man. Out of water, it shoots out flames that hit essentially every frame. Underwater, it shoots out bursts of air that can actually push enemies out of the way, which is pretty useful for manipulating enemies around. And we'll be seeing that on occasion throughout this run. So, coming up here, we're going to see another little trick to the Ice Wall that makes it completely broken. So, the Ice Wall is capable of zipping you through walls, because you see, Rockman and Forte has this thing with Mega Man. Mega Man really, the Mega Man series in general does not like Mega Man to be in walls. And in Rockman and Forte, that's absolutely no exception. So, what it does is that whenever Mega Man gets into a wall, it wants to eject him out of that wall at very, very high speeds. The Ice Wall is a wall. So if you put an Ice Wall in a location that puts Mega Man to the Ice Wall, it's going to want to violently eject him out of that, including into another wall, which then freaks the game out, which then pushes him out of the wall in the opposite direction, which then, well, puts him into another room and causes him to zip all over the place at high speeds. That is actually not the final form of that trick. And we are going to be seeing that quite a few times over the course of this run with a rather dramatic effect. We just got through Pirate Man. Pirate Man, very simple boss. If you have enough health, you could literally just sit right next to him and just hit him with a wave burner, and he is no joke. Well, he is a joke, I guess I should say. And with that, we get the Remote Mine. The Remote Mine is a weapon that attaches to enemies. You can actually manipulate it up and down using the D-pad, and you can detonate it remotely. It's by itself is nothing too special, but it is going to be involved into a couple of rather consequential tricks. One coming up at the next stage, and one coming up at the very end of the game. But first, we're going to go to these treasure rooms. So these treasure rooms kind of replace the capsules that you would normally see at the end of a Mega Man game where you do the boss refights. The boss refights are still in this game, but they're just handled a little bit differently. These are basically here to act as knowledge checks for your weapons. You use the weapons different ways in order to destroy these crystals. And you get nice giant bolts as a reward. You need to do all 8 of them in order to actually go to the fortress stage as well. So with those giant bolts, we are now going to go and spend them in the shop, and we're going to buy a couple of items. The first is a little bit of a safety item, which is the spike guard. The second is maybe the most important item in the game, and that is the counterattacker. The counterattacker is what takes this run from being a pretty dangerous run to kind of terrifying. The counterattacker, when your health gets to 8 hit points or lower, increases Mega Man's damage by 2, no matter what the damage source is. So we're going to just wait here. Unfortunately, kind of messed that up there, but that's okay. So what I mean by that is that every damage source ends up doing 2 extra hit points worth of damage. So a regular Buster Shot does normally 1 hit point of damage, now it does 3. A Charge Shot does 3, now it does 5, so on and so forth. This allows Mega Man to just absolutely melt bosses. And obviously, allows you to do strategies during the stage that otherwise would just not be possible, because you just wouldn't be doing enough damage. This, of course, also means that health management is going to be a real thing throughout this game now. So, we're using a remote mine here. Mega Man is technically in the cutscene and actually cannot move. But that actually is not a big deal, because the remote mine can actually be activated even when Mega Man is uncontrollable like that. So because of that, we can actually damage that mini-boss without the fight actually starting out properly. So very, very useful, useful thing that we can do with that. So coming up here, we're going to take an alternate path. Use the ice wall to actually push Mega Man down through that quicksand a little bit quicker than he's supposed to. And then we're going to use the ice wall here, and in combination with the counterattacker, we're going to actually be able to... We're going to just completely... We're going to, unfortunately... One second, there we go. We are going to have a mild brain fart and get off that ice wall a little bit too quickly. There's slight marathon jitters there, unfortunately, but that's okay. We got through it safely, and now we're going to fight Ground Man. So Ground Man is weak to the remote mine. He loves to jump in and out of the ground, either up or down, and using the remote mine, you can go ahead and interrupt that and make that fight super quick. It is a bit of an RG heavy fight. He can also zoom around as a car, and thankfully he did not do that, so we were able to get through that and get our next weapon, the spread drill. The spread drill is not too useful in the speedrun. It is a giant drill that you can shoot multiple little smaller drills out, as you can see right there. There's going to be one room where it's going to be incredibly important, but otherwise we're not going to be seeing it too much. Now we're going to move on to Tengu Man. Tengu Man is interesting in that he's actually a repeat boss. He's actually originally from Mega Man 8, and he's been repurposed alongside Astro Man for Rockman and Forte. Although he is repurposed, he does actually have a different weapon, and actually does have a slightly different pattern as well. So he's not completely the same. They didn't just copy and paste him directly from Mega Man 8. And with that, we're going to get to our first auto-scroller. So, since I know we're running behind on time, I'm just going to go ahead and do my shout-outs here. So, I want to shout out my incredibly supportive girlfriend who's watching right now. My friends here in the Pacific Northwest who are also watching as well. And the Mega Man community for helping me get into speedrunning in the first place, particularly Shadow and Mr. Cab, a couple of fellow Rockman and Forte runners. Chelney, a Mega Man 4 runner who helped introduce me to Mega Man 4. And of course, there's a ton of people, really, but we're going to just have to end that right there. So now we're back to actually playing this stage. So we're going to use Remote Mine to kill these enemies very quickly. Remote Mine basically hits on every frame, so it does actually a ton of damage very, very quickly. Use Ice Wall here to just strategically kill these enemies. I was supposed to pop through that and get through that pretty quickly, but unfortunately that did not happen. But that's not a big deal. We're still getting through this stage relatively cleanly. Now we need to take intentional damage because we do need to get down to that counter-attacker damage level. We are like well behind on that, so had to improvise to take a few extra hits there. But we're now in that critical health range, and now we're able to take on Tengu Man. It's really one of the reasons why I do love running in this game is because there's a bunch of random health drops, and you have to get your health down to a very specific range. There is a lot of improv that goes on in every run. No run is ever the same in Rockman and Forte, and it ends up being a lot of fun because of that. We pretty much skipped over Tengu Man because honestly there really isn't much to say. I was completely off on Magic Pixel, but that's okay. And with that, we get the Tengu Blade. The Tengu Blade is an interesting weapon in that it actually has 3 different attack modes. An up-close slash, the actual blade that Mega Man is going to demonstrate here that bounces off of walls, and it also turns Mega Man's slide into a dash. Now, the dash is actually slightly slower than the slide. It actually has a quicker startup, but Mega Man slows down at the end of it, and you can't jump out of it, so it's overall not desirable to use it in most situations, but it can be useful here and there if you just need to like quickly get off a platform, for instance. And with that, we're going to move on to Magic Man. Magic Man is one of my favorite stages, a very fast-paced stage, even though we're going to have a little bit of an auto-scroll section right here. And we're going to have a trick that is going to be very, very scary, but is also actually pretty easy to pull off. So I'm going to just be quiet while I do that, because I now have jinxed myself, I'm sure. There we go. Easy squeezy. Lemon peasy. So, that trick is a lot harder to pull off than you think. But also not that bad once you get it down. So, what we're doing is using Ice Wall to essentially skip using the train there. Now, you'd think it would be just as simple as just using the Ice Wall to, give yourself a little bit extra horizontal distance, but you'd be wrong. Well, I was meant to lay an Ice Wall there, but I didn't, but that's okay. There's a ceiling in that room. While it looks like there's open sky up there, there absolutely is not. If you jump too high up near that ceiling, you'll bonk your head, you'll fall down, you die. So you have to kind of, you have to Goldilocks it a little bit, and then damage boost off that enemy in order to get the proper distance in order to make that jump. So this stage is an awful lot, there's like really strict health management, as you can see. We're already down to just 1 health, and that is completely intended. Every hit in that stage is absolutely accounted for. And thankfully, things went okay. We're on to Magic Man. So Magic Man, it's very imperative I get this first hit, and we don't allow him to zoom across the room. We did, that's great. Since he's in the center of the room, he's just going to repeat the same 2 attacks over and over. And we can just slash him endlessly and get through that fight. If he moves left and right, he is going to do things that I have not practiced for, have not accounted for, and will probably die. Thankfully, didn't happen, and we get the magic card. So the magic card is a pretty good weapon casually, not so good in the speedrun sense. Mostly because it stops your momentum on the ground, but it essentially sends out a boomerang card that when it hits enemies, gives it resources back. Very nice casually in order to give you health back, because there's no such thing as energy tanks in this game. So if you're having difficulty playing this game, it's very good to use that in order to get back extra health. Not really useful for us in a speedrun context, but it's still pretty nice. And so we're now on to Astro Man. Astro Man is kind of RNG heck, for lack of a better term. There's multiple segments that can cost us quite a bit of time if the game just sort of decides to. And we're coming up to one here, after we get past this room right here. There's going to be an opaque background that's going to basically spawn enemies at random intervals. Some that will be minor nuisances, some that will spawn directly over pits and kill us. We're gonna hope that we don't get the ones that spawn over pits and kill us. And we are very, very lucky there. It wasn't perfect RNG, but to be fair, it was pretty darn close. And now we're gonna see yet another use of the ice wall. So in this room, you're supposed to hit buttons that allow you to get out of that room very quickly. But it turns out if you put the ice wall right next to the door and you just slide into it in a very funky way, the ice wall just pushes you into the trigger for the next room. And with that, you could just skip that. We actually got incredibly favorable RNG, so we could have actually pressed the buttons and not lost a whole lot of time. But it was still faster to do that. So here we are, one of the few sections that actually has Yoku blocks in this game. A good Mega Man staple. First room, not so bad. Here, if you don't have this memorized, it's very frustrating, but thankfully I do, so it's not a big deal. And we come into yet another room where we're going to just ice wall our way out of a problem. And by ice wall our way out of the problem, I mean we are going to put the ice wall just a little bit too close to the wall so it breaks, but that's okay. We just reset our position, and that's no problem. And now we are on to Astroman. So Astroman can either be very kind and save us 7 seconds, or he can be very unkind and cost us 7 seconds. It all depends on whether or not he gives us Mountain Dew, as I like to call it. And he's going to give us Mountain Dew. So when he does this, he basically shoots this green beam down to the ground that spawns enemies. While he is doing that, he is completely invincible. We cannot do anything about that. All it does is cost time. It sucks, but unfortunately, that is just the nature of this run. But with that, we got out of it, no problem. And with that, we get the copy vision. The copy vision basically creates a copy of Mega Man that just shoots regular shots. It doesn't move, it just stays in place. It actually has some speedrun applications if you're doing some beginner strats. It's not something we're going to see during the run outside of bosses, however. So, interesting weapon, like the color scheme, but otherwise not overly useful for us in a speedrun context. With that though, we're on to our last boss, Dynamo Man. Dynamo Man's stage is the Ice Wall Showcase. We're going to use Ice Wall in a bunch of different ways, starting out with this first room. We are going to use the Ice Wall's incredibly large hitbox to destroy these bombs in a way that just gets us through this room very, very quickly. We're going to briefly stop using it in order to, unfortunately, not jump off of those bomb blocks, but that's okay. Destroy this enemy, and then we're going to place down the ice wall and use that to slide over these conveyor belts. These conveyor belts will do their best to push Mega Man back, but unfortunately they don't interact with the, well, fortunately they don't interact with the ice wall at all. And so because of that, we can just stand on the ice wall and save a ton of time. Then we're going to use the ice wall in order to jump up this ladder very quickly, switch off the ice wall for just half a second in order to wave burner our way through this room, and then, say it with me, we're going to go back to the ice wall. And we are going to use the ice wall to clip out of this mini-boss that I still, to this day, don't know how to fight properly. We're going to take 3 attempts to do it, but that's okay. We got out of there. Everything is fine. Nothing is broken. We're going to go through these dark rooms that, as long as you have them memorized, are not too difficult. And then we are going to use the ice wall one last time. Once again, we are going to use the ice wall's incredibly large hitbox in order to deal with this enemy that otherwise would completely ledge guard us. Then it's just a matter of just sliding through these, shooting this enemy while he's off screen. Well, he's a little bit on screen, but don't worry about that. And we're on to Dynamo Man. Dynamo Man is an incredibly frustrating boss to fight casually. He's an incredibly fun boss to fight in the speedrun sets because he is actually able to refill his health halfway through the fight. But we are going to use a fun application of the copy vision in order to destroy his little prongs that are up there that recharge him by placing them at the very top of the screen. Nobody's supposed to place them on a copy vision on one side, go to the other side, and destroy the other side at the same time. But by placing it at the top, you just skip that entire process and you make it super quick. And with that, we get our final weapon, the Lightning Bolt. The Lightning Bolt is a screen clearing weapon. It's something you see in quite a few Mega Man games. It has an incredibly useful application that we are going to see in the first Fortress stage. But before we do that, we are going to go and do the rest of these crystal rooms using our different weapons in order to get these large bolts, because we do have at least one more thing to buy. Technically, two more things.
While you're grabbing those large bolts, do you have time for a couple more donations?
I absolutely do. Please, go right ahead.
Yeah, we got one from, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, Gu-Earn?
Oh!
Who gives $25 US, says, "Great job, Mike. Keep up the good work."
Aw, thanks, Guy. I appreciate it.
And we also got one from Philippe Bart, who says, "Go one more time."
Thanks.
They also gave another $25 US. Both of those didn't specify any incentives, so please let us know in the chat if you'd like those $25 US to go towards any of our Day 7 incentives.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. So, we're going to do a few things. We're going to buy a couple safety 1-ups. Normally, I would not do this in a run, but just for safety reasons. Don't want to take a game over for no reason. The second thing is that we bought two items that are very important. We bought the energy balancer, which just refills Mega Man's energy even when he doesn't have a weapon equipped. And we also bought another item whose name I forget, but it's very important. It basically just transfers energy in. If you take damage, it'll basically refill your weapon energy, and it's going to be very useful for a glitch right at the end of the game. Speaking of glitches, I unfortunately spoke over that, but what we did there is that using the ice wall, we placed Mega Man into a wall, and then using the lightning bolts, for one reason or another, when you use the lightning bolt while trapped in a wall, it just shoots Mega Man to the top of the screen at high speeds. Mega Man just moves incredibly quickly. Dangerously so, even. And we're going to be seeing that a couple more times during this run. Although in an application that's going to be even stranger than that. So this is the first Fortress stage. Very interesting stage in the sense that it is definitely a check on your skill. All three of the Fortress stages are quite long. And will feature elements that were featured in other stages previously. We're going to be using a lot of wave burn in order to destroy these enemies very quickly, as we try to make sure that our health is in a very specific spot as we get to the boss of this stage. Our health is absolutely perfect, which is great. We're going to be using the copy vision in order to fight this this odd little penguin and his monkey friend. Now, the penguin, you need to stand on that platform that's perched very dangerously over the lava in order to lift them up and make them vulnerable. All the while, this penguin's going to be throwing coconuts at you that do 4 HP worth of damage. When you defeat the boss, the platform also jumps into lava, so you need to remember to jump off. Thankfully, I did. We're very lucky that the monkey did not decide to coconut us to death, because those coconuts do 4 HP worth of damage, so it can only take 1 hit. And we get through that without problems. And we get to the second Fortress stage of 3. This stage has 3 mini-bosses. All 3 of these mini-bosses are terrible RNG heck that will absolutely wreck your runs. They have no, well, the last one does, but the first 2 actually do not have hit points, well, HP bars, I should say. And they can essentially do whatever the heck they want at any given time. And depending on what they do, will cost you a ton of time, or it'll save you a lot of time and will put you on PB base. Just sort of depends. But first of these is going to be the King Tank. So King Tank has 3 vulnerable points. It's going to be a gun on front, it's going to be a grenade launcher on top, and it's going to be a little hatch on the back. We are going to hope that he gives us good RNG. Not the greatest so far, but that's okay. This is acceptable. Oh yeah, this is 100% acceptable. This is acceptable. We're gonna take this. He can actually at any point just move back and forth endlessly if he wants to, and he can literally waste like 30 seconds of your time at worst if he really, really wants to. Thankfully he didn't though, and we move on to the second part of the king stages. So you keep your health throughout the different parts of the stage, and I'm gonna take this a little bit safely. Normally I would damage boost through here, but there is a possibility that we could be getting a bad pattern that could just straight up kill us if we don't have enough health. So we're gonna just stay in that critical HP, but like 7 HP or so. And we're now going to fight King Jet. So King Jet is fought on top of these platforms that are completely RNG. They can be either high, middle, or low. And we need to hit the top of the King Jet with the spread drill. He has a very, very interesting feature to him, where if you actually hit him while he's still in iframes, it just extends the iframes. And he can either do this pattern right here, which I want him to do, where he just spawns like random stuff like very, very annoying flashes or health that brought me out of critical HP. That is unfortunate, but that's okay. We're gonna make this work. We're gonna just make this work. It'll be fine. Yeah, there we go. It's absolutely fine. And with that, we defeat him. We take an intentional death there because it skips his dying animation and a little bit of extra stage, and we go on to the final part of the stage. So, since we're back at full health, we just need to take some intentional damage in order to get us to an optimal health value. And we're going to be doing the scariest trick in the game. So, we need to essentially skip a boss. If we do not skip this boss, we will see Proto-Man. If we see Proto-Man, I'm sorry, Game Over Cancer, we are going to be even further behind schedule. The good news is I've gotten very good at this trick. So we should hopefully not see that. Oh baby, first try every time. Look at that, look at that. There was no worry, I didn't have nerves. They weren't there at all. So we don't have to fight that boss at all. Instead, we're just gonna fight King's brother here, Purple King, and deal with his giant mech. His incredibly cool mech. So his mech is only weak on the very top of him, and my idiot self forgot that I had already taken some damage on King there. That's okay. That's a small little time loss. It could be far, far worse. This is why we bought all those 1-ups. Commentating and playing at the same time, difficult. Anyways, like I was saying, he can give us different RNG patterns, just like every other part of the King boss, that range from, oh man, that's really, really kind of you. I really appreciate that you did that, to, well, we're gonna be here for a while. And he is giving us the we're gonna be here a while pattern. But that's okay. We really would like him for him to charge at us, just like that, because his weakness is actually the Wave Burner. And he can only be hit if he actually charges at you like that. So that was actually a very quick fight. Even with the death, we really didn't lose that much time. I've actually had PV runs that have, well, we're just going to casually save. I've actually had PB runs that have actually had worse time losses without a death there, so I am going to 100% take that. And we are on to the final stage. So this is a long stage that has refights with all the bosses interspersed between them. It's a very Mega Man 1, Mega Man X1 style, and honestly I really appreciate it. As a person who actually does not like Mega Man boss refights, this is nice because it's just how it allows you to play, play a fun Mega Man stage while you do it. So we're going to start without Cold Man and get ourselves back down to optimal health. He's actually weak to Thunderbolt, so we're going to go ahead and use that to get his health down, defeat him, and immediately move on to the next section. So, our last bit of Yoku blocks, we're going to take some intentional damage there. Grab that health, that's going to put us out of counterattacking range, so we're not in critical health anymore, as we fight Astro Man. Astro Man, we're going to take some intentional damage on just at the very beginning, And then we are going to pray that he gives us a good pattern. Very good. This is not the best pattern, but it is a good pattern. So I'm going to accept it. So we're going to quickly defeat that enemy. We bought that Sky Guard earlier, and using that, we're able to just jump on those spikes, take some, basically intentionally get rid of that Spike Card just in order to slide across those spikes, and now move on to Dynamo Man. Dynamo Man is going to be the exact same. Unfortunately, I accidentally buttoned 1 too many times, so we now get to see how this section is supposed to be done. So normally, what you're supposed to do here is you lay down an ice wall, and then you just slide. It's really nice, actually. Really casual. Thankfully here, we can pretty quickly just damage our... get our health down pretty quickly. No problem. And now we have a little bit of a buffer. So, round 2 with Dynamo Man. Like I said, Dynamo Man is going to be pretty much the exact same as last time. Just set down the copy vision. Actually surprised that... Oh, no! Well, that's unfortunate. I did not lay it high enough. But thankfully, that's not a big deal. He gives a pretty good pattern there. And it's not exactly like we need extra copy vision anyways. So moving on, we're going to go underwater. We're going to head over to Pirate Man. We are going to accidentally refill some copy vision, but that's okay. Not a big deal. I meant to refill Ice Wall there. Get ourselves back down to critical health. And make very, very short work of Pirate Man. I was not quite close enough, unfortunately, but that's okay. Alright, now on to Burner Man again. Since we're in counterattacker range, Burner Man is actually incredibly easy to deal with. Just 2 pushes and that's it. Unfortunately, we've taken a couple deaths, so I am not going to try a relatively difficult trick here. Instead, we are going to just use the Ice Wall to quickly destroy this Lion Coin and have him dig us a path down. So the idea here is that you need to have him jump back and forth in order to dig down and get you out of this room as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, it is complete RNG where exactly he wants to jump. He does seem to favor wanting to jump towards Mega Man, which is nice. I'm going to need to take 1 more extra hit here. But he can sometimes cost you an awful lot of time. There, he was actually very kind to us, so... Thankfully, not too difficult as we refight Magic Man. Magic Man, we are outside of critical health, but that's actually not a big deal because we can just slide into him with the Tengu Blade. And it gets through that fight very quickly. That's a very unfortunate health drop, so we are going to just do that. And we're on to Ground Man. That was very scary. I really probably should have died there. But, unfortunately, I was not able to get the remote mine off in time, so he jumped into the wall, but not too big of a deal. I'm just going to wait for the music transition here, because the game pauses when the music does transition, just so I can set up this spread drill. So that's the one and only use of the spread drill in the speedrun. That is outside of a boss weakness. That room causes a ton of lag. Rockman and Forte is actually very good about lag and not having it, but there's so many enemies in that room that if you leave pretty much any of them alive, it causes that room to lag very badly, and inputs will be dropped. Like, will be unable to jump or do anything, which actually turns that room into something very dangerous. And with that, we're on to Wily. So Wily has 2 forms. Hopefully, we are only going to see this form. So this form, you can actually kind of just stun lock him by just sliding underneath him continuously. If you do that, he just doesn't know what to do. He just wants to crush Mega Man so bad, but he can't. So we're going to now switch over to this item here that allows us to get health after if we take, or not health, weapon energy if we take damage. And we are going to hopefully, and I do mean hopefully, get this really, really cool skip. So it's going to be silent for it. Ah, I missed it. So the idea is to take damage there and shoot a remote mine up, and then activating the cutscene in order to just instantly kill Wily. Unfortunately for us, we didn't quite pull it off. But that's okay. We'll just fight him normally. Thankfully, I am very practiced in this. Ooh, he is giving us kind of a bad pattern, but that's okay. He is continuing to give us a bad pattern, but that's okay. That's okay, that's what you want to see. It's a bit of a risk there, but we're running out of juice here, so we just needed to do that. And time. And that is Rockman and Forte. What was my time, by the way?
I'm just looking at a delay right now, but seems like it was just a little bit over your estimate.
No! Ah, that sucks. I am so sorry about that.
No worries, it happens. Yeah, 40 minutes and 20 seconds is what I'm getting back here.
Ah, if we'd gotten that skip, we would have been it, but unfortunately we did not. Since it is overestimate, I know we're behind, I am just going to just shout out Game Over Cancer. I appreciate the host, I appreciate everybody helping me get this set up, and I appreciate everybody here watching. And with that, I'm just going to throw it on back over to you all, and have a good rest of the marathon.
All right, stay tuned, everyone. We've got Mega Man X3 coming up in just a few moments here at Game Over Cancer 2025.